Hey everyone, it's Tom here from thisonlineworld.com. I hope you're having a fantastic day today. If you're new to the channel, welcome and thanks so much for subscribing. The growth on this channel has been pretty insane lately and I can't thank you guys enough. So if you're completely new, my name's Tom. Nice to see you guys, and yeah, I make weekly videos on personal finance topics. So let's get into another video. So now I was researching different video topics for what I was going to make today, and I came across this interesting category of videos on YouTube about things people don't buy anymore to save money. And honestly, I was pretty shocked. Like, if you go through YouTube, you'll see dozens of videos of different content creators basically explaining how they've cut down on their expenses by not buying certain things. A lot of this ties into the idea of minimalism and, being more frugal and just not falling into the idea of hyper consumerism. I won't lie, I'm not a minimalist by any means. I don't think I'm one, although I'm trying to become more aware of the stuff I buy. And honestly, I like the idea of these videos because I think it's a good idea to take a step back once in a while to kind of look at your spending and to think of different things you can cross off your list to save more money each month. So before we begin, let's get a little bit more interactive. If there is a product that you've stopped buying, let me know what it is down in the comments below and how much it saves you per month. And this will give people an idea of things they can stop buying as well. So let's help each other out. But yeah, let's get to the list. So the first item that I have stopped buying, and I'm sure this is going to speak to a lot of people out there, is shoes. And not exactly shoes as in all footwear altogether, because you do need to buy shoes as you wear out old ones, especially if you do things like go to the gym or you like running or you're just on your feet all day. However, one thing I have stopped doing completely, and I think it's been a very good and frugal change, is I've stopped buying what I'm going to call awkward shoes, or shoes that are kind of in that weird mid-price range where it's not cheap footwear, but it's not expensive footwear. It's just in the middle. So when I was in undergrad, I would love going to Aldo and, buying new shoes, be it for going to the bar or just, new running shoes every once in a while or gym shoes. So because I was a student with limited income, I wouldn't buy super expensive shoes, but I wouldn't buy $5 shoes because those would hurt my feet. So I'd buy something in the middle, but what inevitably happens is it's just the worst of both worlds. You're not really saving money and your shoes will fall apart in 6 months, so it's not worth it. So what I do now is I essentially buy extremely cheap shoes for things like going to the bar or music festivals. I have just a cheap $10 pair of black shoes that have been to a lot of disgusting places. And then when I actually do need new shoes, like running shoes or hiking boots or something like that, I'll buy a more expensive pair, but I expect it to last at least 1, 2, maybe even 3 years or more. And that has really cut down on my kind of frivolous shoe expenditure, I suppose. If you're a shoe addict like I used to be, definitely keep this one in mind because you do get what you pay for with shoes, and there's not really a point, at least in my opinion, of going for that awkward middle ground. Right, the second thing that I have stopped buying, and this is actually completely recent, is expensive razors, because my brother-in-law actually got me one of these. I think this is called a butterfly razor. I'm going to link it down below, but what's great about those kinds of razors is you buy these disposable blades for it. You just shave with them once and then chuck it out. But these blades, which are essentially thin sheets of metal, cost like 5-6 cents per sheet, and you buy a pack for $1 or $2 and it lasts you for a very long time. So when you look at the cost of using a disposable razor and constantly having to refill cartridges with one of these, the savings are pretty insane. You're probably gonna go from spending over $100 per year on razors to spending like 20 bucks at most. If you're tired of overpaying for razors and you want a cheap alternative, I definitely recommend checking out this product. All right, so the third thing that I have stopped buying, and this might actually sound surprising, especially for today's generation, is music subscription. No Apple Music, no Spotify, no Amazon Music, nothing like that. And honestly, this is kind of one of those things where if you absolutely love music, it could be worth the cost. But for me personally, I worked at an ad agency and I would just listen to music 8 hours a day in, day out. And it got to the point where I kind of just liked silence, and I'd come home from work and I wouldn't want to play music, or I'd go to the gym and I wouldn't want headphones in because I had them in all day. So I kind of thought about spending $120 per year approximately on Spotify, and at the time, it just kind of lost its luster for me, so I canceled my subscription and I have not gone back. Definitely recommend looking into that, or at least sharing an account with someone. Like, I know Spotify has a like couples account or a share account you can get, so I'm going to consider that, but I haven't found anyone who actually wants to share an account. But ultimately, I don't really think there's a point in paying $120 per year or more for music if you can at least share an account and cut that in half. So keep that tip in mind. All right, so the fourth thing that I have made an effort to stop buying to save more money is essentially these guys, like candles or knickknacks, fragrances, things like that. So honestly, I got a bunch when I moved into this place and I do love them. There's something really satisfying about just lighting up some candles or making your house smell good. But I am making an effort to rein back on spending because, one, I don't know if these are actually good for you. Like, I don't know if the chemicals and fragrances are good to have in your home all the time. So that's one consideration. And two, I just think they're overpriced for what you actually get, especially if you go to stores like Bath & Body Works or Bed Bath & Beyond or HomeSense or stores like that. And trust me, those stores are great. I mean, they make it seem like you're getting a deal because you get these massive candles and they have 3 for 20 deals or 5 for 30 deals or whatever it might be. But in reality, that is a lot of money for something that is going to disappear within a week or two, and it's honestly just not worth the cost, at least in my opinion. Not the biggest category to save money on here, but it's worth keeping in mind if you love candles and all these scented products, because there's probably a product or two you can trim from your shopping list. The fifth item or category that I have tried to stop buying in order to save more money each month is kind of the idea of just not buying fast fashion. So a lot of people are against buying fast fashion because of labor laws and the idea of wasting clothing and wasting resources to produce cheaply made goods that aren't really gonna last that long. And to be honest, I think there is some truth here, and I personally get frustrated if I buy, let's say, a t-shirt for $6, I put it through the wash and it shrinks, or within 3 washes it's faded and it doesn't even look that good. But really the main realization I had actually came a few months ago when I was basically living out of a backpack in Colombia and then Florida. And that realization was that you actually barely use most of the stuff you own. And I think this is a pretty core concept behind the entire idea of minimalism. I mean, I went down to Colombia with 2 pairs of pants, 2 pairs of shorts, bunch of t-shirts and some underwear, and I didn't even use all of that in a given week. So honestly, I don't think I've bought new clothing in more than 6 months or 8 months. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with buying clothing or buying clothing more frequently, but keep that kind of like price versus value and quality ratio in mind when you're shopping. And if something you buy is going to be thrown out within a few weeks or months, it's probably not worth picking up. All right, so number 6 on the list of things I don't buy anymore is full price hotels or flights. This is a bit of a different one, but I think in today's age of reward apps and credit cards and the gig economy, there's absolutely no reason why you should pay full price for an expensive hotel or, you know, flight if you can't afford to do so, and it's kind of putting a damper on your travel plans. I honestly haven't checked into a hotel in a very long time. I exclusively go with Airbnb, and you can find some pretty cheap stays that are still really cool. And if you book for longer periods of time, you get discounts, and I just think it's an awesome idea. Obviously not really viable at the moment. Now, another advantage of making money online and working remotely is that when you travel, you can usually go for extended periods of time. And since you're going for extended periods of time, it makes it easier to kind of get a worse flight or a red-eye flight, or to maybe a one-way flight deal and then you get a cheaper ticket on the way back. So if you can book your travel plans in a way where you're finding cheap Airbnbs in advance and you're getting discounts for staying longer and you're getting cheaper flights, that's actually hundreds of dollars in savings. And if you tack on a travel rewards credit card and, you know, online deals or searching for cheap flights online, there are so many ways you can cut down on travel expenses if you put in the effort. So definitely keep this one in mind. The next item on this list is a pretty simple one, and that is essentially just very expensive alcohol or expensive drinks. So I'm absolutely not a wine snob or beer snob or anything like that, so this one is quite easy for me. Honestly, like, there comes a point where spending extra money on fancy alcohol is a flex. It is not a upgrade in taste. If you're the kind of person where, you know, you need a Grey Goose bottle or you need exclusively craft beer and the most niche beers you can find, more power to you. But if you want to trim your spending, this is an easy category to tackle. And I did mention alcohol in my video on money saving tips to help you save money very quickly. So I'm gonna link that one above, and I definitely recommend checking it out if you want more tips on how to save money. All right, so the next idea on this list is actually a complete opposite to the idea of not buying expensive alcohol, and that is the idea of not buying very inexpensive meat. Now, when I was in college, my friend and I made this dirt cheap meal plan, and it was honestly quite gross, and we'd buy this like tubed meat stuff that was like ground chicken allegedly, or whatever it was, and it was just gross. It had this nasty pink color. It was like $2 for like a 2-kilogram thing or kilogram thing of ground chicken. Tasted gross, did not sit well with us, and we'd buy stuff like that, or we'd buy stuff that was about to expire and then we would freeze it. Once I got a job, I kind of started thinking more about the importance of the quality of stuff you put into your body, and especially for meat products where there are different correlations between the meat you consume and carcinogenic rates, or the rates of cancer you can get. And you really just want to make sure you're getting good cuts of meat that are not high in fat, and they're not the trimmings or gross parts of an animal, and that you're actually putting good fuel into your body. Now, if you can't afford to do that, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Like, I could not afford to do that all the time when I was a student. But in that case, you can just look for more alternatives, and you don't have to go vegan or completely vegetarian, but also eating a bit less meat per week is another great way to save more money, and that's something I'm trying to do as well, just by having a meat-free meal at least once or twice per week for dinner. Bit of a different tip, and maybe it makes you spend a little bit more money on groceries, maybe it makes you spend a little bit less depending on your shopping habits, but in aggregate, I think you're getting better value for your dollar, so I think it's worth considering. So number 9 on this list of things I don't buy anymore also ties into food, and that is the concept of not overbuying food. I think food waste is a pretty serious problem, and if you're honest with yourself and you look at your grocery budget, I think a decent percentage could actually be attributed to food waste at the end of the day. It's tough because shopping in bulk saves money, and you're tempted to only shop once per week or once every week and a half, but if you end up throwing out 10 or 20% of the stuff you buy, or even more, that's a complete waste of money, and that's also just, a waste of food, and it's not really right. So what I've been doing lately, it's a bit more of the European shopping style, and this is also because I live alone, so it's just easier. I'll kind of do a few like mini shops per week where I just stock up on perishable things like produce and fruit, and I leave the bulk shopping where I can get more value to places like Costco, where I go once in a while with my family when they let me use their Costco membership. So yeah, be honest with yourself. If you're throwing away food, you're overbuying food. There's no other explanation for it. So trim your grocery budget, or shop a little bit more often, but buy smaller trips and adopt that European shopping style to kind of cut down on food waste. And idea number 10, because I could not make a video on things I don't buy without bringing this up, because it is the bane of my existence, but it is overly expensive kitchen appliances that you will not use. I have fallen for this trap so many times between moving places and moving into college and then moving into an apartment and now moving here, and I'm sure you've done something similar. You walk into a store, you see a new gadget, and you're like, yes, I will be making breakfast sandwiches every day with this breakfast sandwich maker. I must acquire it. You buy it, and then lo and behold, it sits in your cupboard and you never actually use it, and you're out $100 because you decided to buy this new gadget. I've done this with blenders, I've done it with waffle makers. My roommate did it with a breakfast sandwich when we lived together in college. They never get used, and it's an absolute waste of money, so be honest with yourself. You need realistically good pans, good baking sheets, maybe a pizza tray. That's it. That's my final tip for things to stop buying to save money. Avoid kitchen appliances like the plague, because you don't need most of them and they're very expensive. So yeah, that about does it for the things that I no longer buy to save more money each month. This honestly felt like a little bit of a different video because it was kind of just like, here's what I do, and maybe you can do that too, but I hope it helps some of you guys out there if you have a bit of a shopping problem or you're trying to trim back your budget to save more money. Again, like I said, make sure you leave an idea down below for something that you stopped buying that saves you money each month, so other people can find ways to tweak their budget to save more. As always, I really appreciate you guys watching. If you want to give the video a like and leave a comment to let me know what you think, or if you have ideas for future videos, please don't hesitate to let me know. That really does it for this one. I hope you guys have a wonderful week and weekend, and as always, don't forget to check out thisonlineworld.com for more unique ways to make and save money. I will catch you guys in the next one.